What's up, guys? Hope you all are doing good. So, this is the Rage of Doom 2099. Dr. Doom returns to fight Ultron, one shot. But it's all based on what happened during One World Under Doom. Not only that, it ties into the continuity mess that is the Marvel 2099 universe right now. So, what this does is this initially opens up, and it has Dr. Doom during One World Under Doom. And he says, natural disasters, nuclear war, a stray asteroid hitting the Earth. Predicting how the world will end is an impossibility, some say. I know I, for one, certainly did not see it coming. Perhaps because I was the cause. And so for those of you guys who read One World Under Doom, the little speech bubbles and everything, right? Dr. Doom being the Sorcerer Supreme, this is a direct reflection of that event, and we will tie this in to the Doomed one-shot that we talked about before. But once Dr. Doom's defeated, all the superheroes are standing over him, right? And Reed Richards says, "Your reign is over, Emperor." And Doom just kind of recollects to himself, "Emperor." He said it with such disdain, and yet what I was, Emperor, Sorcerer Supreme, ruler of the world. Whether Richards and his doltish friends could come to terms with it, I couldn't give a damn. And so where Reed stands over him, triumphant, right? Dr. Doom just responds, "Doom accepts nothing of the sort, Richards, you self-assured fool, not when I have you all exactly where I want you." And so he says, "The terrible truth was, I did not fully grasp what I was about to unleash, a spell I had reserved as my last resort, one that I had uncovered in the deepest recesses of the Darkhold, a spell incanted by the she-demon Lilith, used to defy God himself and vanish her from the Garden of Eden. I believed it could be utilized to vanish my foes, but instead it vanished everything, every man, every woman, and every child. Heroes, villains, my own Latverian people, every living thing that ever walked upon the earth, that swam in its seas, that flew in its skies, gone, as if they never existed. And now, these many years later, here in 2099, they still don't, leaving me, Victor Von Doom, a ruler of nothing." Now he goes on and he says, "I desperately tried to rectify what I'd done by using my time platform on numerous occasions, repeatedly gathering countless allies throughout the time stream in an attempt to convince my past self to relinquish his powers before it was too late. Alas, it's all been for naught, one intolerable defeat after another. And now, with my time platform beyond repair, my defeat is complete." And so as he's standing here recollecting on everything that had happened during One World Under Doom, he's met by another person, and they say, "Master, you must be careful. You are not fully healed from your last encounter with your past self." And he says, "I am Doom. I am healed enough." And at that point, they just relinquish. And that's where you get this girl who looks very similar to Susan Storm. It's not her, but she looks similar. And she says, "My deepest apologies." And so Doom asks, "Is there something you require from me, Doombot?" And her response, "The Doombots, the one you sent looking for a means to restore the time platform, they are about to return." And so Doom, being informed by this, realizes that there's something she wants to say, and even points this out, right? "You seem as if you have something else on your mind. You may speak freely." And she just says, "Thank you, Master. I do have a question. Did you not send me along with them to protect me? That's what the other Doombots believe, because you created me in her image, the image of your beloved goddaughter, Valeria." And the response of Doom, "Nonsense. I am Doom, and I am above such sentimentality." And so that's where she kind of apologizes and then relinquishes. But at that point, Doom just kind of starts commenting and says, "She was special to me. Admittedly, her death affects me the most. She was there that day with my other foes. I do not even know how she ultimately perished under the spell, which somehow makes it worse. Was she alone when it happened? How did it occur exactly?" And at that point, he can't really remember any of it. And that's when the rest of the Doombots show back up with the head of Ultron. Now, let's start answering some questions, because you guys are probably already noticing massive continuity issues here. Number 1, in One World Under Doom, we know that Dr. Doom died, and we know he accidentally killed Valeria, and in fact, he died because he sacrificed his life to resurrect Valeria. Not only that, the events that transpire here, him wiping out all the superheroes on Earth and the Earth itself being left as a desolate place, that didn't happen in One World Under Doom, but this version of Doom did go into the past to try to stop Dr. Doom in the present day and his whole campaign during One World Under Doom. So how do you reconcile all this, and how does the whole idea of Marvel 2099 fit into this? Okay, enter the old school Comics Explained mode. So, Marvel 2099 exists in 3 eras, for lack of a better word. There's the original version from the 1990s. That one more or less came to an end during a story called Manifest Destiny. The definitive endpoint is still debated among 29 fans, but that's effectively when it comes to a close, and it ended for any number of reasons, right? Dan Pavitt left Marvel on bad terms. Some of Marvel's best talent took off. Marvel was struggling financially in the 90s, as most people know, so they just thought focusing on titles that weren't performing that well. 2099 was one of them. But when it was originally pitched to us, it was presented as the guaranteed future of the main Marvel universe. And so, as long as nothing happened, like a global nuclear war that just wipes out all life on Earth, that future was the guaranteed future. Once it came to a close, it basically just became any number of alternate realities within Marvel Comics. It was no different than Days of Future Past being a possible future of the Marvel Universe. Now, if I remember correctly, and I'm not going to swear by this, Marvel 2099 got its official numerical designation as Earth 928 during the Exile storyline, after House of M. It was actually a story called World Tour toward the end of Exiles. They were traveling across the multiverse. But the bigger point is, by and large, 2099 was just an alternate reality for a while. And then Age of Ultron happens. Now, the reason why this matters is because Age of Ultron established that whatever happens in the present will affect the future. Wolverine literally broke time. And so what this did is it allowed both Dan Slott and Peter David to use a combination of the Amazing Spider-Man comics, Spider-Verse, and Spider-Man 2099 to re-establish that Marvel 2099 was the guaranteed future of the Marvel Universe. And for the most part, it still is. As far as I'm aware, nothing about that has changed. The only thing that changed was that in 2019, during his run on Amazing Spider-Man, Nick Spencer came back and essentially rebooted it. That Miguel O'Hara comes to the present in Amazing Spider-Man issues 32, 33, and 34 and tells Peter something happened. There's an event that is either happening now or will happen soon that has changed the 2099 universe to the point that it's actually being wiped away to be replaced by what we now call Marvel 2099 AD. Steve Orlando takes it over and has been writing it ever since, up to the current storyline, which is called Marvel 2099 The End, where basically it is a coming together of a multiversal group of heroes all from their own 2099 future, so Age of Apocalypse 2099, House of M 2099. Different things like that. So you get Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, you get Scarlet Witch from House of M, we do get a Spider-Man 3039. The story is really cool, truth to tell, but I haven't read the final issue of it.
And so I don't know exactly where it is that they're taking it, and I haven't read any solicitations for it, but that should clear up a lot of that stuff. Understand this is very broad strokes. This is not a very detailed, nuanced explanation of it all. Maybe that's something that we'll do at some point along the line. But in the here and now, that should at least help you understand how we got to where we are now. And so focusing on this, right, with Dr. Doom having the head of Ultron, he says that, right? Ultron, an artificial intelligence of incredible strength and invulnerability that gained sentience and rebelled against his maker, Hank Pym, and then time and time again against the world with his ultimate goal of extinguishing all human life upon said world. Still, I was able to bring him to his knees during the so-called Secret Wars. The question now is, dare I do it again? And he says, the truth is, what choice do I have but to dance with the devil once more? As much as it pains me, I must admit I do not have the means or ability to repair my time platform, but Ultron does. I have taken every precaution, every fail-safe imaginable. His personality will be suppressed. He will only be able to do as I command. He will fix my time machine, and I can repair what I've done. Now, what's so ironic about this is that he can't. He tried it during Doom 2099 in One World Under Doom, but that's where the kicker comes into play. Because what seems to be happening with Frank Thierry writing this is he's kind of splitting the difference. That what he's now saying here is that seemingly this story is an alternate reality version of what happened in One World Under Doom. So you can see where the continuity issues start to become a major problem in Marvel Comics. If 2099 is the guaranteed future of the main Marvel universe, then this should be playing out essentially as a direct reflection of what happened during the events of One World Under Doom. And it'll likely bring that into play. But it will likely bring these things closer together. Because one of the things to keep in mind is that when it comes to changes to the time stream, they don't usually happen immediately. One of the examples that I always like to use is an asteroid striking the Earth, right? It hits the planet, and then a tidal wave just starts spreading out in every direction. But it takes time for that tidal wave to go from the immediate impact point to wherever its destination happens to be before it subsides. And that's kind of what you're seemingly seeing here. We don't definitively know that, but that seems to be the indication. And so what ends up happening is that the Valeria Doombot approaches him and says, "This will take all night, Master. It is late. I will oversee everything. Rest. The platform will be ready in the morning." And so Doom responds, and in the morning, reckoning will come. And so he ends up heading back and then going to sleep. The problem is that the following morning, he's immediately attacked by all of his Doombots, and they just say, "You are right, Master. A reckoning has arrived. Yours." And all these Doombots go after him. And he says that, right? "My Doombot's ambushing me. I have to activate the chip in my head, retrieve my armor." And at that point, it's kind of Doom being a bit grandiose here, right? How dare you attack Doom? Who's responsible for this treachery? And Valeria appears and says, "I am. Despite your claims to the contrary, it is clear you favored me, Master, gave me more leeway than the others. This was your undoing. I saw an opportunity with ULTRON'S arrival. As such, I disabled the ULTRON fail-safes, freeing him, and he in turn freed us." Now, this is not Frank Thierry pulling this out of his backside. It's well established in Marvel Comics that Doombots can go awry, they can go rogue, and they can do their own thing. That's exactly what you see here. What I think exacerbates this entire situation is the fact that Dr. Doom gave his Doombots so much leeway, again, probably in an effort to atone for his actions in destroying the superheroes. He wanted something akin to the life he had before, even if it was only some version of the life he imagined for himself, which is to say the superheroes exist, but they're controlled by him. And so he asked the question, why? Why haven't I always treated you well, you especially? And she just says, "No, you treated us like slaves. We were never your equal. And now ULTRON has shown us you are not ours." Now, that's the kicker here, right? When it comes to ULTRON, and a lot of you guys who are familiar with this character, you know this, the instant you bring ULTRON online, he will do everything he can to seize control in whatever means possible. We know that from a variety of circumstances. A really good example of this is Annihilation Conquest, right? ULTRON'S consciousness had previously been shot into space, and he ended up taking over the entirety of the Phalanx, that whole race of cybernetic organisms, to the point that he actually ended up possessing Adam Warlock. So in a lot of ways, ULTRON is very similar to Dr. Doom. Mad, grabbing for power as much as he can, as fast as he can, and then trying to carry out his schemes of basically destroying all the superheroes on Earth, all sentient life on Earth, and then spreading his influence throughout the universe. And so Dr. Doom says, "There are too many of them. I am being overwhelmed. I have no choice. The only chance I have is to overload my armor." And that's what he does, right? It blows all these Doombots apart, but it comes with a cost, that his armor is now compromised, so he's not as powerful as he traditionally is. And he says, "Serve me right. How could I allow this to happen? Am I not Doom? I became far too reliant on my Doombots, far too trusting of them, and of her. It is an error I will quickly rectify."
But the problem is that Ultron chimes in and says, "Accept your fate, talking monkey. You are too late to stop me, too late to stop any of this." And Ultron immediately starts putting himself together, using the pieces of all these Doombots. And he says, "I am sure you are well aware my ultimate goal has always been to eradicate all life. But thanks to you, that goal has never been closer to fruition, which means I have but one task remaining, to eliminate you." It's kind of the perfect scenario for Ultron, right? Imagine that you were Ultron, right? You just kind of been lingering out there in this desolate place, more or less shut down, and then you're activated. And when you are brought back, you realize your work's been done for you. Someone's destroyed all the superheroes for you. The only thing you have to do is just destroy this one guy. And so Doom responds, right? "Better than you have tried, robot." And he casts a spell. He says Doom has always prevailed. But even he knows it's no real meaningful effort here. He's putting on a show. It's performative more than anything else. Lofty pronouncements, Victor, but the truth is, your armor is significantly damaged, and now, after that last assault, I am defenseless. My only saving grace is Ultron's arrogance. He has made a tactical error by having me this close to the platform, where I can use it as my means of escape. Now, this is the funny thing, because when it comes to Ultron, he's a machine, an AI constantly running calculations. So just because you escape Ultron does not mean you've beat Ultron. Those are not the same thing. Because sometimes the things happen because he's herded you in a direction, not because you were smart enough to get there on your own. And that's what he says. Foolish human, what you believe to be your salvation will actually be your damnation. It's kind of amusing in a way. We both achieved what we wanted. In this new form, I will rule this lifeless world in your absence, while you fulfill your desire to go back in time. Of course, now that I've destroyed the time platform once again, you will be trapped in the time stream forever. With that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to an end because this is the end of it. Keep in mind, Marvel seems to be releasing these intermittently and no real set schedule, so no clue when the next issue comes out. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, drop a like. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you all later.